evoked or really painted the kind of racist nature of British mainstream society in the mid-1970s. How do you think Rock Against Racism was trying to challenge these patterns of racism?
Well, the most significant way in which we tried to challenge it was the visual effect of seeing black and white people getting along together and working together and producing creatively producing together. And it's interesting, for example, that in the late 70s and early 80s, the movement two-tone developed, and Jerry Dammers, who was one of the leader of the Specials, he said to me, he said, yeah, Rock Against Racism was a victim of its success. We took on the baton. It was it's a relay race, is anti-racism, and two-tone took on that baton, and they did, and it was suddenly, and it's still, normal to see multiracial bands. Most bands, it's very rare to see an all-white band. Maybe the Spice Girls were, some of those sort of bands, but bands like mainstream bands are now multiracial. At the same time, you remember in 1976, poor Laurie Cunningham has just died. There were 3 black footballers in the whole of what was then the First Division, but is now the Premiership. 3 black. I mean, how many teams have only 3 black players? None, I don't think, in the Premiership. It's things have changed, and sadly they've changed. But it's like shifting sand is the racists. The racists will find new scapegoats to point at, and they do. And the Islamophobia and the immigrant movements are now moving to new targets. They've got used to Afro-Caribbeans and Asian people being here, but they've found new people to hate, and that's always what happens. It's a shifting, and so vigilance is the word. You have to fight it for all your life. It's never going to go away. But people aren't born racist. They have to learn it, and they learn it from things like the Daily Mail and the Daily Express and the Sun, and it has to be countered constantly. So if whilever they're we'll be here, and it's important to remember that, I think, and I think that's why Ra really finished, is because in the 81, because we'd succeeded really to an extent, and we'd changed things. But I don't mean racism had gone away, on the other hand, but it had certainly, the music industry had changed.
You once said to me you thought that Ra was about changing white people's perception.
Well, it is. It is about changing white people. There was never a problem with racism from black people against white people that I ever saw, anyway. When I talked earlier about being the only white person in the 4 Aces, that's true, but I wasn't in any way hassled, or it was not a problem to be there. The problem was very much that Rule Britannia, full-pipe family fascist mentality of British and best idea. It's been instilled from the days of empire and colonialism, and it has to be fought against, and we've not come out of that era any more than the French have either. It's also the same thing there, and for the same reasons as well. And we have to move on from there. They were wrong, and they were still fighting that fight of anti-imperialism and anti-colonialism, really.